Yep, gods and priests, I need you to head down towards the green container. You can come out with me. Just priests, priest assistants, and gods, please.
The good thing about Australia is it's such a wonderful place to shoot. It's very comfortable. It's a beautiful city here in Sydney. The local talent is incredible, and bring a real passion for filmmaking and a great camaraderie, here that we definitely see in the States. But it's just nice to, if you go this far away from home, that you feel it again. We feel very, very at home here and very welcome, and that's been great.
I think we have very good crews. We've got good facilities here as well, but the main thing is crews, and it's the people that you work with that make a film happen. And I've been particularly lucky on this movie, Gods of Egypt. I've had great supervising art director Ian Gracie and his team, really great people to work with, and then they consequently have good people as well. And you can't do a movie by yourself, and from the very top, from Alex down through us in like kind of a pyramid, all of those, we all feed off one another, and I think it's the personalities and the qualities of the technicians that make it a great place to make a movie.
Yep.
This film is beautifully designed. Owen Patterson and his crew have done just a brilliant, brilliant job in designing this world. And Pete Menzies Jr. has also done a brilliant job in photographing the actors and the environments. The way to shoot a film like this, because they have such large environments, is to shoot it with limited sets, because so many of the sets are built digitally. So what Owen and Ian Gracie did in the art department is build sets that were just big enough to in front of camera, be able to be oriented and understand where we were, for the actors to have a place to be, for the director to understand how everything got put together, but not so big that they got in the way of all the digital work that happens outside of it.
Honestly, it's just like doing a play. I mean, like, if you're doing a play, you're on a stage and you're talking about stuff that's actually not there. If you're doing a scene that's supposed to be at the lake, you're looking out in the audience and there's no lake there. Most of it is just us, pretending to see stuff that's not there.
It's good for imagination. It's not like being in an independent movie, very realistic. No, everything's blue. Sometimes you talk to crosses, So it's a good exercise. It's different. I like it.
Who is it?
Behind the actors, behind those smaller sets, are either blue screens or green screens. I'm often asked, why do you pick green over blue? Well, the reason is because when you're actually putting an environment back there, whatever color that screen is, you take it away and you put your environment in. So if you're putting a green screen up, you have to take the green out. And this is a film that has a lot of gold in it. Gold has yellow in it, and there's a lot of yellow in green. So when you take the green out, you also take the yellow out. So that gold that looks so terrific in front of camera now becomes this weird ochre color, and it just doesn't work. So we picked blue because there's no blue in gold, and it could maintain its fidelity. It could look just brilliantly gold after you took the blue out and put those great backgrounds in. And so that really was the driving force between that color and that choice. And it's very special material. It's not something you can go to a fabric store and get. It's very pure. And there's it's pure blue. There's no yellow, there's no other colors in it. It's not sort of blue. It's like real blue. So that's what costs the money.
So we are in Centennial Park in Sydney. We still have the blue screens, as you can see. Blue screens, a lot of blue screens on this film. But it's nice for us to be a bit outside.
My magnificent bloody hounds!
Today we're shooting the scene where Seth tries to pay the soldiers to go to war. So he throws coin at the soldiers to go to war against Nephis and the other gods. So yeah, and I'm sitting on the litter.
And 3, 2, 1, lift. 3, 2, 1, shoulder.
My litter's huge. It's very comfortable. There's 20 slaves holding me like this all day. So it's quite an experience. Never done this before. Love it.
When you're shooting against blue and in such a background that's void, you really need to see everything together to understand how to frame it and how the actors are playing out in that environment. So one of the challenges of doing this kind of work is coming up with a technique to allow the director and actors and cinematographers, camera people to see what it's going to look like, or approximate view of what the final imagery is going to look like with the environment behind as you're shooting.
You see what you're working with in reality, and then you watch a playback and you can see it. They put the landscape in, obviously the quality isn't anywhere near what it will be in a year and a half.
The whole film was pre-animated, so you could do a scene and then go and see the animated version of that scene instantly. The French special effects guys sit round the corner and they're actually rendering the scene as you go, so you can get half a mock-up.
We went to a company called Solid Track out of Paris, and they have a system, it's a real-time tracker. So as the camera moves this way, it knows that that point that it was looking at over here has now moved over here. And when it moves over there, it tells the computer to take the 3D background that we created in Previs and incorporate that in with this movement and move it around appropriately, track the camera, and then we can mat those together so you can frame accordingly and you can look at it and you get a good sense of what it's going to be. And it's just an invaluable tool. It's the only way to do this kind of work because you really have to do it in a very particular way, and this was a great tool to have on set.
Tell me, why'd your father choose you to be master builder rather than one of your brothers?
I suppose because I proved to be the best, my lord.
As I shall prove to be the best of my father.
Probably the biggest challenge with the entire film is the fact that we've committed from day one to shooting this film in such a way where our god characters are going to be literally larger than life. They will be approximately 9 feet tall each, where our mortal characters will be their actual size.
I think that was a really interesting contrast, and it created enormous physical challenges or practical challenges for the director and the director of photography and Eric, the visual effects, to actually be able to combine. How do you shoot? Because all of our people, even though they're playing a god, they're really only 6 foot tall, or somewhere around that. So there has to be a separation so that we can have Beck appearing to be a 6 foot man and Nikolaj or Horus appearing to be a 9 foot god. So the practical side of it is pretty huge, really, and many things have to be built twice.
When you watch the movie, it's established early on, and the amazing thing is that you kind of forget about it. It just becomes the way it is, which is the way it should be. You shouldn't think about it. But to shoot that, to accomplish that, is so difficult and so complicated. We would have, early on, there's a scene in the tomb when Beck first meets Horus. We had 2 identical sets, one in god size, one in human scale.
So it's built for a 6 foot man who's playing a 9 foot god. And then we would oversize the set by approximately 1 to 1.15 so that Beck would appear to be small on that same set. So you'd build 2 sets.
Boys, just a couple of questions. Where did you get the rainbow umbrella? Why do you push me so hard as I'm trying to save you?
In doing this, the most ideal way, just purely on a compositing level, would be to shoot them separately. You shoot one and then you shoot the other, which just doesn't work in terms of performance. You need to have them in the same room talking and interacting with each other. So we were shooting with the Dragon cameras, and the Dragons are 6K, so a huge amount of resolution. We're using these 70mm lenses with the Dragon, so we have this super duper crisp, high resolution image. So we can take a figure and then enlarge him or her, enlarge them to a pretty large degree and keep the fidelity. So we decided that we would do 2 cameras, 2 next to each other.
So with one camera, you could shoot Beck. The other camera, you could shoot Nikolaj, both the same shot and both of us in the frame, but you would only use a little bit of that frame and you would only use that half of that frame, and in CGI they would put them together.
He should have taught you to get off your ass and get your own water.
So we could have both of these figures in focus, and you could keep the scale. One of the things that really betrays trying to cheat a giant and a smaller person is that the foreground giant gets soft. And when it's soft, it looks like it's small. So by having these two cameras, we're able to keep everybody in focus and keep the scale. So we use that throughout the movie.
It's going to be really challenging for our visual effects team to go in and take those scenes and dial down Beck to his size and dial up Horus to his and put them in the same scene, acting together, fighting together, sometimes carrying each other.
I can't withstand their venom, not as I am now.
Then I guess we should run.
Run?
Mortals do it all the time!
There's also a scene when we're running from these giant snakes, and I lift up Beck, and I run with him. And we had these, these giant treadmills, and we were running and jumping.
Treadmill.
Doesn't seem like a particularly exciting thing, but it was quite useful for Alex to be able to use the treadmills to get a lot of walking and talking or running sequences without having to build massive sets, because a lot of that's being done in post anyway. Being able to get people running and jumping and doing all that action stuff without actually having to have travelling cameras and all that background for real, that was quite useful for them, and it was a good experience for us, saying we hadn't done a whole lot of treadmill work. On this show we built 4 treadmills, 2 large ones which were about 4 metres long by nearly 2 metres wide, and they were to enable the actors to run and jump and move all over the place and have the freedom to move and not feel like they're going to fall off the treadmill. I appreciate the fact that Alex pulled the crew together, great crew, and got them here to shoot in Australia, so thank you, Alex, for that.
Hey Beautiful is at the end of this run.
So I'm running to get there, so
yeah,
it's more...
Hey Beautiful is going to be a close-up that we're going to do somewhere else another time, just down there.
There's been a lot of creative license. I think it's all worked, and it's Alex who leads us all where we're going to go and directs us, and he's come up with a really great script, I think, with the writers, and hopefully visually it will help to explain everything that's going on in the background.